Hi guys, Jeanette and I have just returned from a great holiday in the Yucatan Peninsula, right G?
Yes.
And
Wonderful.
we thought that we'd share a couple tips with you so that if you do decide to holiday in that part of the world, you may find them helpful. I suggest 2 weapons that you take with you. 1, go with a smile. Smile a lot and a lot of doors will be open to you. And the second one, very important, go with an open mind because the culture is totally different. So G, what about the accommodation? Share with us what your thinking is on that.
Well, again, accommodation, it depends on the kind of holiday you're looking for. We used a variety of accommodation when we were in Mexico for the 5 weeks. We used bookings through Airbnb, gated community, apartment, 2 bedrooms, bathrooms, everything. We used local guest houses, hotels. So it was really a variety and we thoroughly enjoyed them all.
How do you find those accommodations? What site do you use?
We usually and most often use Booking.com. The reason for us is that sometimes we plan to spend specific days in one area, then change our minds and with the number of days, as we did with this vacation. And with Booking.com, you could go ahead and book, but they give you 2 weeks or even less
to cancel
without
charge.
any penalty.
Yes.
And you pay no money up front. And this I really like with them. And we use Airbnb occasionally. And hotels we use to fit in where we have a day or 2 in between. So we stay in hotels.
Yeah.
But most often we like to stay in apartments.
Let's talk about security for a minute. I know that Mexico gets a lot of bad press sometimes, but we can talk about the areas we've been to. And this time we went to the Yucatan Peninsula, and I can assure you we felt extremely safe, even walking at night in several communities. What we suggest, do heed the government bulletins that are issued for any country, and Mexico is no exception. But use common sense and adopt common sense safety precautions for your own personal protection. But for us, it was absolutely great and the people were just wonderful. The police were very friendly and very helpful. The soldiers even posed with me for a photograph. So it's a very relaxed atmosphere down in the Yucatan Peninsula. What we do, and we do this for all countries that we visit, we register with the Canadian government so they know exactly where we are. Just in case there's an emergency, they will be able to contact us or know where we are. It was very helpful to us in Portugal, I think it was, when there was a raging fire which killed people in the exact area that we were going to. And we got an email from them warning us about it. So it's very helpful to do that. So in whatever country you live in, if they do have that facility, we recommend you use it. But the Yucatan Peninsula, great, very safe, in our opinion.
So we are going to talk a bit about transportation. When we were there, we used a variety. We used taxis when necessary, and the taxis are very reasonable because we took taxis from Puerto Morelos to Cancun, from the airport to Puerto Morelos. We used a colectivo in addition to taxis while we were in Puerto Morelos, and the colectivo cost is so cheap. For one of us going to the beach is the equivalent of 50 US cents. 50 cents US, unbelievable. Even the taxes are very reasonable. I think it's about, it would be the equivalent about maybe 3 US.
Yeah, very inexpensive.
Very inexpensive. Bicycles, if you use bicycles you could rent for the day. And if you're going from one area to another, for example, from Puerto Morelos to Playa del Carmen or Cancun, you could use a colectivo. The Aerobus also travels long distances, for example, from the airport to Puerto Morelos and Tulum and there. We've never used them, but they look very comfortable.
Yeah. Also, I just want to mention that They're building a train which is going to cover a large area of the Yucatan Peninsula, and I understand it will be open in December of 2023. But I want to talk a little bit about my driving experience. It was great. One thing I did notice about the roads, other than the major highways, there are no verges, so you have to be very careful. Also, if you're going to overtake on those roads, make sure that you shoulder check, because they come out of nowhere at very high speeds. So be very careful. But other than that, very safe to drive in Mexico.
In the Yucatan, where we
Yeah, that's right, which is Mexico. Anyway, the thing is that we also want to talk about walking, because we did a lot of walking.
Oh,
Sometimes,
enjoyable.
yes, sometimes instead of taking the collectivo to go to the groceries, we just walk. And it was very, very healthy, of course, and very easy, because you learn a lot, you see a lot of things, you see restaurants that you may want to go to later and so on. So we highly recommend walking.
One day we even walked from where we lived to the beach.
No, it
That's
was the
right.
other way. We walked from the beach home.
Oh, that's right. We took the collectivo to the beach, and
Yeah.
from the beach we walked home. We went
And I
very
think-
early in the morning to
Yes.
see the
And
sunrise.
that was about 5 kilometers, a little less than 5
yeah,
kilometers.
and that was
yes.
to see the sunrise.
Yes, yes. So we
Yes.
recommend walking.
Currency. We go down with a certain amount of cash, but we use our ATMs, and quite a few supermarkets have an ATM machine located there, and this is the one we've used most often. Luckily, we have an account that there are no foreign charges, so it was okay with us. So there were no additional charges. But there was once we had to use them at another supermarket, and there were charges because it was a different bank.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Canadian bank, let's say, per se. And there were additional charges, because you could be charged for withdrawing from the ATM, and your bank could also charge you. So you could check into all of that before you travel to see what's best for you. And there are also foreign exchange offices located all over.
Very convenient.
Very convenient. So you convert whatever currency, US, Canadian, euros, into Mexican pesos at those offices, and they would give you a better rate than the merchants would.
Yeah.
So it's best.
And you also need local currency for certain places. Some restaurants do
very
not
often.
take credit card.
Very, very
Yeah.
often. All the local restaurants, most of them, the little ones,
Yeah,
right?
the little
Certain
ones, yes.
They don't take credit cards.
Yeah.
So it's very convenient to have the currency with you, and the collectivo and
Taxis and so on. Yes, you'll need
it's
cash for that.
easy. Yeah.
Yes, pesos.
It's allergies. I'm allergic to shellfish, so I always make sure I travel with my EpiPen, because in that area it's predominantly seafood.
Yeah.
So I had to be very careful. So,
What about the types of food?
but there are so many different types of dishes down there. You've got the usual tacos, burritos, salmon. You've got a variety, and there's no shortage of different restaurants. You could go to a different restaurant every day. There's so many of them. And this we found wherever we traveled in the Yucatan. No shortage of restaurants.
What about the water, G? Tell us about the water.
Oh,
in
the
Mexico.
water. To be on the safe side, we even brushed our teeth with
Bottled
bottled
water.
water. But it is so inexpensive. A 20-liter bottle, which is delivered to your place, in our case to the apartment, cost $1. You just call one the day before, following day is delivered. $1 for 20 liters. Unbelievable.
One thing I should also say too, that we did not do it this time because we simply forgot. But usually we prepare for any possibility of hepatitis A or B by taking Twinrix, which you can get from your doctor. I think you get a main shot, and after a while you get a booster, so you don't have to take the shot again. But we did forget, but we would recommend that. It protects you against hepatitis A and B.
And there's some drops that you could get at the supermarkets where you put a few drops in the water and put your fruit, especially things like apples and pears, grapes, anything like that you don't peel it. So that's is antibacterial.
Yes.
Antibacterial, would you say?
Well, it sanitizes anyway,
Yes,
the fruit. So
that's right.
because if you're going to eat the skin, you want to be careful.
So as a result of that, I did that on it. Every time I bought fruit, I went through that procedure.
Yeah.
And everything turned out fine.
Yeah, fine. And I would add to that under the listing of food, I'd add fresh coconut water, because we had our fill of that, and it was available at little corner shops, and they had it on ice, ready to go, fresh in bottles, and very inexpensive and very enjoyable.
Excellent. We had coconut water every day. That's mostly what we had. Yes. By the way, these are the drops I was speaking about, and there are variety, there are different types, but this is just one of them. The beach, yes. On the beach, there's a variety of clubs, lots of them. Some operate that you could use their lounges and sunbeds, palappers, umbrellas. You pay, to give you an example, there's one that you'd pay the equivalent of 25 US.
Per person, is that it? Or
25 US per couple.
Yeah.
Per couple, yes. 25 US per couple. And of that, you could have 20 US in food or drinks, right, for the day. This is not to say that you've got lots of money to spend on food and drinks, because a drink would cost you maybe about 7 US of that. There are others that you could just rent the lounge chairs with the umbrella for $12.50 US.
For the day?
For the day. And there's a big supermarket walking distance from them, and they serve meals, sandwiches, a variety of drinks, anything you could think of.
So a quick walk to the supermarket and you're organized.
Yes. So.
And from the beach to it, I did it. The snorkeling is available. There are vendors up and down the beach offering to take you snorkeling, and the rates are very reasonable. I recommend just going for 1 hour. If you want to go for 2 or 3, that's fine too. But the reef is the second largest reef in the world, and it's not far. It's just offshore. Just take you out there in 5 minutes, you're in the water.
And there are a lot of local vendors on the beach offering local delights.
So don't be afraid. Try them. Some of them are quite good. We've tried them without any ill effects. Okay, guys, now I want to talk about the Wi-Fi. In the first apartment we stayed in, the Wi-Fi was so poor, but fortunately, our host was very responsive. When we reported it to her, she in fact changed the provider. So that went into a very, very good situation, because it was just terrible the first day or two. But what I would suggest going forward, and that's for me to have learned that I need to find out the rate of the upload and download. Particularly the upload, since I do upload videos. But if you do your streaming, if you take your own box or Fire Stick to do movie streaming, you need to make sure that it can handle that. So I would suggest asking the host what their rates are, upload and download. I also want to talk about the communication. For Jeanette and I, we find that it's really, really important that both of us have telephones. So we bought SIM cards in Mexico, in the Puerto Morelos, and they were just absolutely inexpensive and very, very, very good. We were able even to call Canada and the US from there, and very inexpensive. So we highly recommend that, because if you get lost and you want to communicate with each other, it's important to have 2 phones.
Yeah, I think it cost us under 20 US
for
a month for both
of
us having those SIM cards.
Yes. Yeah. So we highly recommend that. And they're available in OXXO. It's like a convenience store that is located all over the Yucatan Peninsula. Every little town has an OXXO.
So if you're like Roger and myself and you travel with only a carry-on, laundry is a big problem, could be. In the Yucatan, it is so easy to get laundromats. These are, and the laundromats, you just bring your clothes one day and you get it back the following day, and it is very inexpensive, very inexpensive. I think in Merida, when we were there, I brought about 5 tops, 3 pairs of pants, and a few other items, and it only came to about that was 6 Canadian.
Yeah.
So that's even less than US
Inexpensive,
dollars.
yes.
Yes, so it's very inexpensive. The other thing we should talk about is travel insurance.
Travel medical.
Yes, travel medical. We always take the annual because it's much more reasonable because we take a few trips a year. The 30-day annual. Many people think that travel medical, it's only for illness. No, if you're involved in an accident, what happens?
Yeah, if
And you're
the
hospitalized.
consequence, that's right.
And there was an incident, I think in the Yucatan, where these people did not have travel insurance, involved in an accident. Luckily for them, the other party admitted that they were wrong, and their insurance, vehicle insurance, covered their medical expenses.
Which were extensive.
Right? So it just shows you the things that could happen, could crop up if you don't have that coverage.
Shouldn't we not also mention that our provider mentioned an incident in the Far East?
That's right.
Where there was a terrible accident, and this person fortunately had the coverage, and they had to be flown back to Canada with 3 stops along the way, I think it was.
Because they had to change medical staff and all of that.
That's right.
Yes.
And the cost was somewhere $250,000.
Yeah,
now just imagine that.
$250,000.
Yeah, $250,000 it cost. And fortunately, they had the coverage. So as Jeanette says, we highly recommend that to any traveler, particularly if you're going to a place that you're not accustomed driving, or you're going to be taking boats.
Regardless of wherever you go, because you never know what
when
could
an
happen.
accident can happen.
Because it covers illness, accident, whatever.
Yes.
Look, when I was in Jordan, I fell coming down the mountain.
In Petra.
In Petra. And because we had medical travel, they covered everything.
Yeah.
Including because the doctor says that I had to travel with my legs raised.
Yeah, because you fractured your ankle and your foot.
Right.
Yeah.
And they upgraded me to business class,
yes.
and they paid for that additional fee. So I would highly recommend that.
Great. Guys, it would have been remiss of me not to have mentioned our car rental, which we picked up in Cancun. We use a small company, only 10 employees. They're only based in Cancun and nowhere else in Mexico. But the service was excellent and the rate was particularly good compared to the year before when we rented from one of the majors at outrageous rates. So I highly recommend them to give them a try if you were in Cancun. It's Avant Car Rental. So guys, that's it from us. I hope that what we've shared with you will find helpful if you do decide to visit the Yucatan Peninsula, especially the quaint and peaceful and beautiful town that we love, Puerto Morelos.
Yes.
So guys, see you next video. Bye.
Bye.